everyone, and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Ritan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. Ever since I went to Greece last month, I came back. I've been excited to do this because over in Greece, I discovered a grape called Xinomavro, and they had it on all the restaurant lists. Wine made from Xinomavro, bitter, and I was impressed with these wines, and they reminded me a lot of a Nebbiolo from Piedmont in Italy. Barbaresco, Barolo, you got it, Langhe Nebbiolo. So I thought it'd be fun to do a blind tasting, see if I can tell the difference between the two wines. We have two Nebbiolos here, we have two Xinomavros. Xinomavro is a very interesting grape, considered one of the noblest grapes of Europe. They consider it a erratic diva. It's really difficult to grow. They say don't even try unless you really know what you're doing. You have to be good to handle it, is the way it's described. A little bit like Pinot Noir, probably. There's about 4 or 5 different clones of Xinomavro that they use on the mainland of Greece, mostly around Macedonia, where all the PDOs are protected, designations of origin are. But there's one outside of that, and I can't remember right off the top of my head where that is. But anyway, most of them are around Macedonia. We're going to get started right away. See if I can identify whether it's a Xinomavro or a Nebbiolo, and then we'll see which ones come out on top. So I've been very excited to do this. I talked about it in my last episode. So here we go. So yeah, it's a little bit clear. It is very Pinot Noir-like, very Nebbiolo-like in color, or we could say Xinomavro-like. And really, I encourage everybody to be adventurous, curious, have your palate, have an adventurous palate, an interested palate. Try these different kinds of wines, because I kind of couldn't ignore it. It was all over the menu, so I tried them, and I was super impressed. So let's see what we get on those. Get a little bit of rust and cherry, red flower, very Nebbiolo-like. I'm getting a little bit of a plum character coming through as well. Even getting a little licorice. Let's see what we get on the palate. Very light, tannic, of course, very tannic for a light wine. I get a lot of cherry notes, red flower notes. There's a lot of rust on this one, which is very typical of Nebbiolo. And what I notice is very typical about Xinomavro as well. So that's what makes it so difficult to tell the two apart. This has a little strawberry action on the palate. I'm getting just a touch of tomato as well, which in my research is very typical of Xinomavro, to have a little bit of that kind of stewed tomato characteristic. Now, most winemakers want to stay away from that, but it is a characteristic of Xinomavro, so you might just get a hint of that. I'm getting a little bit of that. It's going to be tough, because it tastes a lot like a Nebbiolo, so. Wow. Now, I might change my mind on this one. In fact, I'm not even going to, I think this is a really good wine. I think it's very solid. There's a little bit of spice on the back end of this one, which is quite interesting. A lot of that rust, strawberry, cherry, red flower thing going on. And just a touch of tomato, but not off-putting. I've heard Xinomavro described as tomato and garbage. And guys, I just had one not too long ago. We tried it, and that was right on. So I'm just going to give this a grade, and I'm going to, at this level, consider it a Xinomavro. So I'll just put an X. Now I might change my mind, but I think the tomato on this one might indicate that it's a Xinomavro. I'll put an end on the one that I think are Nebbiolo and X for Xinomavro. Let's try number 2. Ooh, almost a tawny color on this one. Oof, almost a little bit of brown. Going on. Now, Xinomavro evidently likes a cooler climate because it ripens early, so if it's too hot, it'll ripen too early. Number 2. Like I said, the color on this one kind of comes across as brown, brownish. I think actually, you know what? I'm going to guess the first one is a Nebbiolo. I'm changing my mind already. I think it's a Nebbiolo. Number 1, Nebbiolo. Okay. Yeah. Number 2. Like I said, a little bit of a kind of a brownish color. Dark. You can see through it, but it definitely has that kind of brickish, kind of darker color to it, a brownish color, but not entirely. There we go. Let's see what we get on the nose. Like crushed brick, rust. Definitely some dark cherry hedging toward currant notes. Dark red flowers coming through. Let's see what we get on the palate. This one's a little rounder, but on the finish, very rusty and tannic on the finish. But in the front, you get this nice kind of dark cherry. Now there's a little tomato on this one as well. So there's a little tomato action on this, but mostly dark cherry notes, a little rust lying underneath. Right up front, I like that kind of initial attack of a little bit more fruit. And then it finishes kind of really rusty, sort of tannic, but not over the top. I'm getting some black olive notes as well, and a little bit of a dried bark. But the finish is really, really kind of grippy, tannic. This baby needs some food for sure. In Greece, we noticed that it wasn't so much about steak as it was seafood. At least in Crete, that's where we were. But yes, this could do well with lamb, I think, very nicely, easily with lamb. Some sort of lamb kebabs would be nice. Lamb stew, something like that. Very nice wine, very nicely integrated, good acidity, but it's not over the top. I like it. And I'm saying this is a Xinomavro. I thought there was a little tomato on the first one. This has even more of that tomato kind of quality to it. Stewed tomato, but not in an off-putting way. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm just trying my best. Like I said, Xinomavro is so much like a Nebbiolo. I knew this was going to be tough. Number 3. That'll dry your mouth out in a heartbeat. Well, number 3 is coming out quite a bit more clear than the other two. A little lighter for sure. And you know, when you're talking Nebbiolo, of course, you're talking Barbaresco, Barolo, which are two different areas in Piedmont. And they always say that Barbarescos have more finesse, kind of prettier wines, whereas Barolo's a little more muscular. That's always been kind of a way I've heard it described. This one's nice and clear. You can almost see right through it. It's got a definitely a reddish color, but very, very light. Let's see what we got on the nose. I mean, really kind of strawberry cherry for sure. I like the red flower notes that come through on this as well. And you can smell the rustiness that comes through, which is very typical, like I said, of both Xinomavro and Nebbiolo. Let's see what we get on the palate. So nice, very balanced. A little lighter than the first two. This one has a lot of finesse to it. Somewhat simple, I would say, easily, very simple, but the cherry kind of strawberry notes come through with a little bit of red flower underneath and a little bit of rust. And the acidity is nicely integrated in this wine. I'm thinking this is Nebbiolo. And I'm thinking that it would be a nice introductory Nebbiolo for somebody that's just starting out trying this grape, because it's light enough. The tannins are there, but they're not super huge tannins. They're not tough tannins. They're a little bit smoother. And the rustiness is there, but it's not over the top. So if you're just kind of getting into that, what does rusty wine taste like, this would be a good one to go to. I hope I'm right about this, but I'm guessing Nebbiolo. Yeah, it gets a little grippy on the back end. All these wines are going to need food. You have to know it. And I'm going to go, it was a little simple, not as complex as the first two. So in the lineup, I don't know how this was lined up. My wife did that for me. I appreciate that very much. I'm not familiar with most of these wines. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to say this is a Nebbiolo. All right, so good wine, good beginning wine, not super complex. I liked it, but the other two were definitely more complex. Now, number 4. I'm excited to see if I did very well at all. Well, that is it, kind of. Again, a little bit of brownish color coming through on this one, which, by the way, is evidently a characteristic, can be a characteristic of Xinomavro. And by the way, Xinomavro has been known to age quite nicely for several years, as does Nebbiolo, Barbaresco, Barolo. They're ageable wines. Okay, I'm getting just a little bit of a kind of a brownish color, but not huge. So it's kind of red with a little kind of copper, I guess would be a better way to put it. And not as light as the last one. You can see through it, but there is a little bit of that kind of brown tone to it. Let's see what we get on the nose. Ooh, this is a little menthol going on. Definitely a menthol kind of cherry, strawberry. Oh, it's tough. This really smells like a Nebbiolo, but I know I've already guessed 2 as Nebbiolo. Very perfumed. I like that about this wine. Let's see what we get on the palate. A little black olive, a little strawberry notes, cherry coming through, a lot of rust. There's no tomato on this one at all. And it has a very long lingering finish. This is a baby. I'm getting the impression from this one that it could age quite nicely. I think it's in its youth right now. I think it has some ageability. Super complex. This is tough, guys. I mean, they're all very, very close. That's like I'm saying, you know, Xinomavro, Nebbiolo, so close. I might change, I'm going to go back. I thought number 1 was a Xino. I changed it to Nebbiolo. I'm going to go back to Xinomavro on this one. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to say this one is a Xinomavro, the last one, and probably, in my opinion, one of the best of the bunch. And I'm going to to say Xinomavro on this one. It's tough, guys. It's really tough. This would be a fun little thing to do at a little party. Compare Xino to Nebbiolo in a blind tasting. I'm even getting a little bit of that. It's not quite eucalyptus, but there's a little bit of that mintiness that comes through on the back side of this one. Boy, very, very tannic. Very strong tannins on this one, on the finish. Anyway, good. Very solid. All these wines are very solid. I think number 3 was the one I thought was more of a kind of a beginner's Barbaresco. That's my guess. So, number 3 in last place. Number 1. Well, let's say 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place, number 4. Okay, so in 4th place with a B minus, I guessed it as a Nebbiolo, a beginner's Nebbiolo. Yes, that's one. Thought it was a little light. I liked it. B minus. It was well made, but you know, just kind of not as intense as the other 3. Guessing this is a Nebbiolo, B minus. What do we got? Ah, there we go. This is the 2020 Rizzi Longue Nebbiolo. So this is a Nebbiolo. Runs in at $24. If you're going to try Nebbiolo for the first time, I would suggest buying something like this. It's just a really nice introduction into that varietal. Now, in 3rd place with a B plus, I changed it from a Xinomavro to a Nebbiolo. I had to think about it a little bit, and I decided to go with Nebbiolo on this one, a B plus, and it is the, oh, see, I was wrong. I should have went with my gut instinct there. I almost changed it again. This is the 2020 Alpha Estate Xinomavro, and this comes from the Amendion region. The PDO is Amendion or Amendis. This rolls in at $30, so not chump change, but yeah, it was so much like I should have went with my first instinct anyway. This is a great bottle of wine, Alpha Estate Xinomavro, and this is from the area of course, Macedonia. Wow. Let's see how I did with these two. In 2nd place, number 2 with a B plus A minus, I considered this as Xinomavro. I thought the tomato price, see, that's what I sure thought the tomato element one kind of identified it as that. So we got B plus, A minus. Ah, I got it. Wait a minute. 1, 2, yep. Now these guys, this guy's a great producer. The Kir-Yiannii Ramnista Xinomavro single vineyard. Ramnista is a vineyard. This is from the Nausa vineyard PDO of Greece. This rolls in at $34. There you go. So I got that one wrong, and I guess this one is a Xinomavro. That one is a Nebbiolo. That one should have been a Nebbiolo. So we know this is a Nebbiolo. This is the A minus A. I said it was a Xinomavro. I don't know why I said that. Oh, because I was going to change number 2, and then I went to this one and said, well, it has to be a Xinomavro because I'm going to stick with what I said, and I should have switched it. This is a Nebbiolo with an A minus A. This is the Tintero 2019 Barbaresco, imported by Kermit Lynch. This rolls in at $35. A great bottle of wine. This was by far the best, And you know what? I felt it was a Nebbiolo, but I stuck with it because I didn't want to change my other one, and I should have. I should have went with my gut instinct. But anyway, the point of this episode is that's how hard it is to tell the difference between a Xinomavro and a Nebbiolo. They are that much alike. So if you want to just have a little fun, be adventurous with your palate, you know, be interested in different things, and you like Nebbiolo, you like Barbarescos, you like Barolos, seek out a Xinomavro. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how good they are. This guy right here, this Kir-Yiannii, very, very respected producer of Xinomavro. So, very cool. That was fun. It fooled me. I should have went with my gut. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day, and please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see what's coming up next. I've got all kinds of cool things coming up. I like to educate and help you to spend your money wisely. That's what I do. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.